right. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I am Coach Nazir.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I'm Coach Fatimah, one of his wives.
We are two of the three founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships. And with that being said, we're also the authors, two of the three authors of the book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. So what we're doing right now is part of our weekly workshop, our introduction to polygamy workshop. Before we get started, a couple things. One is that polygamy means a spouse who is married to multiple spouses. We practice polygyny, which is under the polygamy umbrella, because polygyny means that a husband is married to multiple wives. That's what we do, not the other stuff. The other thing is polyandry, which means a wife married to multiple husbands. But since most people understand polygamy to mean polygyny, we just let you know, not only do we understand our terms, but just in case you didn't know, just like we didn't initially, that's what it is. The second thing is I'll be back shortly. The topic Coach Fatimah is going to talk to you about is pretty deep. Matter of fact, especially when it comes to people's ideas and misconceptions when it deals with why a woman, first wife in particular, stays in polygyny. I have to get ready to pray. So I'm going to pray and I'm going to come back shortly, inshallah. So I'll see y'all in a minute. Nevertheless, here's my wife, one of my wives. Coach Fatimah was married to 15 years in monogamy and now 15 years in polygamy. So yeah, that's 3 decades. So if you want to ask us any type of questions, in order for us to see the chat and stuff like that, we are going to be taking advantage of that and allowing just anybody pretty much at this point to do so on YouTube. So if you're watching over there on IG, it's cool, but go over to YouTube, Outstanding Personal Relationships. If you're watching on Facebook, head over to YouTube, Outstanding Personal Relationships. You'll be able to ask us some questions. We'll share with you how to do that. Matter of fact, you will see some stuff across your screen over on YouTube, letting you know how to do just that. So I'll be back in a second. Just wanted to pop in and let you know that and give me a few minutes. And share. Let us know where you're calling from, what country you're in, what time zone or whatever. And feel free to share your religions, group, stuff like that. That helps the algorithm. We appreciate it.
All right, y'all. I was going to say that so the coach could go do his thing, but he said it for me. Now, I'm going to just really quickly see who is up in this chat. So, assalamu alaikum to you all. We want to give salams to those of you and return them. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I see Alabama in here. I saw Greece earlier. You all are active right now. Alhamdulillah. I see some really great comments. Thank you all for the support and the good energy and the maturity that we're seeing on our YouTube channel. Sometimes we get those immature people that are just not ready to have the conversation. We get it. But what we're not going to do, what they're not going to do is be disrespectful. So for this live, as Coach Nyla was saying earlier, I'm going to discuss, and he's going to be here as well. He'll be back in for those of you that are coming into the live. He'll be back after he offers Salat, New York in the house. Awesome. Welcome. Polygyny, why I stayed. So he's going to give his side of things as a husband who practices polygyny, because a husband is the one that's actually practicing polygyny. He's the one that has more than one wife, which is what polygyny means, like Coach Nazir was explaining. Some people have kind of went on the attack, telling us we didn't know what we're talking about. We absolutely do know what we're talking about, and we know how to spell. So with that being said, I did a video how many years ago? I'd say maybe 5 years ago, went viral. Polygyny, why I stayed. And I like to complete that sentence because it is why I stayed with my good man. And oftentimes, polygyny doesn't get its fair airplay. And if it gets any airplay at all, it's typically negative. We get some really angry and triggered people in the comments. We understand everybody's not there yet. They have different stories. They have different traumatic experiences. They're dealing with some evil men and women. We know that there's predators out there. There's men that like to collect women and drop one this one, pick one up the next, like, they're picking out shoes. And that's not what we're about, but we do address it. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into what are some of the effects that divorce can cause. What are some of the experiences that our children might be having, or how that is affecting the family or the legacy. I'm a wife, so although I have ideas and I support legacy, I'm not the primary builder of that. I'm not going, this is the legacy that I've dreamt of. Now, Coach Nyla and everybody else get up behind me and get to this work. And this is what we're going to do because I am the leader. I'm not the leader. Coach Nyla is the leader. I am a leader in our family, though, just like Coach Nyla is, but I'm not the leader. There's such a big difference. That doesn't mean I don't have a say. That doesn't mean that I can't offer support or ideas. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I don't have the scope or the responsibility, nor do I want it, of leading an entire family. My life is much different than Coach Nazir's, although we have the same values and the same pillars that we observe in Islam. We pray a certain way, we fast, we do different things as Muslims in general that are practicing Muslims. Let me just be clear on that, because everybody that's Muslim is not practicing. Everybody that's on here is not Muslim. So I want to make that distinction because people move in different ways. So two things: women are not men and men are not women. And wives don't move like husbands do. We don't. So I'm a wife that's married to a man that's in polygyny, which is much different than a man who is the husband, who is married to two women or more, up to four in Islam. Everybody doesn't know. Everybody doesn't know. I want to say everybody knows. Yeah, of course. No, I'm a wife in polygyny. I'm not married to a wife. I'm married to a husband because that's what I wanted to do. So he's not going to show up as me ever. So I don't have an expectation that he would. So the why I stayed, we're going to get Coach Nazir's perspective on things, which is very important because I want to attach myself or be married to someone that has a vision, that has goals, that has a strong relationship with his Lord, with Allah. That means God, you all that may not know, because everybody just doesn't know. Those were the boxes I had to check off. So I'm married to a man that's married to me, and neither one of us expect perfection out of the other. We're people. So we're gonna speak more to that. IG, if you are not on YouTube, please head on over to there. I'm just speaking to the people that might just be entering into the live. Okay, so go over to YouTube and make sure you guys are commenting, liking, and subscribing, because you're gonna want to make sure that you're updated every time we upload a video. Okay, so IG over there, YouTube right here, Facebook as well. Facebook, same thing. Go on over to IG. All right, back to the subject at hand. I did the video because I got really inundated with a lot of questions, and women specifically, especially initial wives, wondering why in the world I would stay after my husband decided he was going to practice polygyny. And I went there to the point that this video blew up. When I was recording the video, I had no idea. I really didn't. So I'm going to say what it was. This is what it is. And I'm getting up off of here. If it helps people, that is what matters to me. Now, those that are going to be upset or hate in some cases, remember, your haters are always your greatest marketing team, because they're always going to talk about you. They're always going to have something to say. They're always going to have something negative to add. The people that are mature and maybe they are going through it themselves, but the people are mature, don't come over to us and like dump that on us and go, well, it's y'all, you know, if it wasn't for you all, a lot of the problems you have were already there. So maybe we highlighted some things like we like to do because there's a solution over here. And we can't offer solution if we refuse to acknowledge the truth. If we embrace delusion or this illusion that our spouses are perfect and we're perfect and we want to keep up this persona or this charade, it'll all catch up to us in the end. So, for example, wives tend to have these dreams in their head that this is, you know what, this is what I want my family to look like. And let my husband, whoever he may be, he needs to come over here and get on board with that. Other than that, I don't want it. I don't want him, even if he's a good man. You're not perfect. You don't fit into this box that I've created. So when I did the video, some people loved it. The vast majority of people that did watch it liked it, but then it was met with some resistance. That's fine. You don't have to listen to me at all. You don't have to. I get that. However, you also don't have to get some really, really, really good gems on what it looks like or what it may feel like or what kind of disaster you could be creating if you don't just stop, take a beat, look inward and do the work you need to do on you and not just look at everything else around you and say, all of this needs to be fixed. I won't do any work. Just everybody else should. So because I was in that video saying, look, this is what it was for me. This is what it might look like for you. Maybe you had the dream that you wanted your husband to live in and it didn't work out that way because people evolve, they change. So the husband I married is not the husband I'm married to today. He was never going to be. He was never going to just stay that way, that age. And in whatever mindset he was in at the time and not turn into a man that wanted to practice polygyny. I was never promised that. I was never promised it. And I love that because that's all, it was all written. It was going to happen anyway. He was always going to have more than one wife. And so happened that I'm on his timeline first. But that doesn't mean that in some way, shape, or form, I get to take ownership over how he moves, when he moves, and what he decides that he wants to become. So we want the dream, and then we just tell our husbands, get there, live in it for me. If you like it, great. You should like what I like. There's no room for growth on either side. And then we wonder why our marriages are rocky. So I was just breaking that down real quick. Yes, transparency is important. Good.
Now, talking about that, I was listening to that brain stuff. I want to do a couple of different things. One is talking about pretty much the transition period, early period, because many people say it's talking now, as I mentioned at the beginning. And if you didn't see me already at the beginning, I am Coach Nazir. I'm married to Coach Fatimah and Coach Nyla, practice polygyny, and that's what we're discussing today. But I want to talk about really kind of the early times in transition, because we're speaking to you right now for 15 years. So it's not lost on us that where we are and the growth that we've done and things like that have played a part in being able to be successful finally at polygyny. But that doesn't really help many people out, because if they're looking at us at the 15-year mark versus the first 5-year mark, then you might not be able to relate. You can kind of see the end, if you will. And I don't know who it was that said, but it's like, look, champions aren't, made under the lights and all this stuff. They, in the ring in front of everybody when they clap. They made in the gym where people don't see it, where the work is done, the inner work stuff is done. So can you talk a little bit about that? Why do women or women choose to stay with quality men in polygyny? Because that's the thing. I'll talk a little bit about other types of men and stuff like that, and so on, because clearly this is not just about, oh yeah, somebody's in polygyny, it must be great, they have good intentions and everything else. We're not stupid, you know what I'm saying? But discuss some of those things, because those are the parts where people, have some of the biggest issues. We have men and women contact us, of course, talking about the issues, their concerns, their challenges, and so on and so forth. How did you really get to that point to make a decision? All right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and work to make this work, versus the initial let's just jump ship and do this and and struggles and the challenges. Like, you didn't have struggles and challenges, and you was mature, and I knew what to do, and everything was smooth. And now we're here talking to people.
I think so. What I did, and I've been asked this question often. It's a really, really great question. What I did is looked at Coach Nazir's track record before and how he moved before, and in monogamy. And then I looked at, did that change, or did like the main sum of all parts of him, did that change? And then I had to look and go, no, he still prayed, he still went to Juma, he still did so many things that I still admired, even though he was, if anything, he was 10xing what he did before. So he prayed so much, especially after polygyny. I was like, wow. So then I looked at that as admirable, because I'm going, he's really focusing in on his relationship with Allah. I was looking at this from a distance, because I was distant. I was like, nope, I'm not going to deal with none of this. But it's still undeniably so. I was like, the intensity is different. Of course, we pray the 5 prayers a day as Muslims, but it was just more. So everything became more. And I said, well, this is so important to him, that I kept seeing this cycle of him calling on Allah in a different way. Because we didn't have anybody to talk to, and it's like he was in the middle doing everything. And just the shouldering of that responsibility was so incredible. And at times I saw it to be almost crushing, because when you had that kind of weight, and I said, okay, what is he doing with it? What he was doing with it is he kept going back to Allah with it. So I said, not only, a friend of mine was like, you know what, you might have a better husband through this than you had before. He wasn't, I'm not saying he's bottom of the barrel and this just made him much better. Not saying that at all, like I had this trash husband. I didn't have that. Never that. So, and people would tell me that their stories of moments when they looked up to him. So they had all these stories, because I'm like, everybody in love with us now that, we decided to practice polygyny. It was like we had this loyalty to our story. They're like, you know what? You'll be all right, Fatimah, because I remember the time he did X, Y, and Z, whether it was push a car out the snow, or he brought food, or I saw him. I remember one of the elders in our community. You never know who's even watching you. But she told me, she didn't tell him, she told me. And one of the youth in our community had passed away. He drowned in a rip current. And my daughters and my sons, our sons and daughters, knew this youngster. He was a teenager. They knew him. And the news arrived as we were at our Islamic center in the city we're from. And one of the elders, and this elder, that's so interesting, subhanAllah, she knew my grandmother when my grandmother was a teenager. So she'd been in the community a long time. We love her to death. Hugs to her. She saw Coach Nazir hugging our daughter through the window of the Islamic center. And when I came in the door, she was like, that's what you do. And I was like, what happened? I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? I'm like, that's broad, sister. I need to know what you saw. And she was like, I saw Nazir hugging our younger daughter, and he was just kind of consoling her. And this was a tragedy, and it had just reached our Dallas Center. It had just reached, the news had just reached, so one of our daughters was struggling. And the elder told me, she said, not too, I don't see that too much around here. Because she's sitting on the chair watching everything, right? And she was telling me, you ought to be feeling very blessed to have a husband that would hug his child, don't care who's watching, I don't care who's around. And another time was Eid. She saw our family, the entire family was Eid. And we took a photo. I believe this might have been I think this was might have been the first Eid photo we took as a family. And it was just we prayed together, of course, but we were kind of scattered because you're talking to friends and people that you don't see often. And the same elder, because her husband was in polygyny, but he did it the wrong way. She's watching the guys to make sure, okay, if you're in it, I'm gonna make sure it's right. So I remember she said to me, the first thing she said to me outside of the regular greetings, she said, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. She said, that's the right thing to do. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna take a picture together. Don't mean you guys are best friends, you and your co-wife. Don't mean everything's smooth. It wasn't smooth. We weren't best friends. We're not best friends. We're co-wives. We're family. It's different. So when she said that, I couldn't deny the fact that even though it's not as smooth as we would have wanted it to be, there was still this, I don't want to say praise, but there was still such love that we received that day. And I won't forget it because it was on Eid. And I remember that same day, Coach Nyla had asked me, she said, would you take a picture with me? And I said, girl, I'll take a picture. Well, I'm supposed to be Michael Jackson. I said something like that to her. I'm accessible. Ain't nobody to be asking to take a picture with me. But that was I think the first time we had took a picture, a solo picture was on Eid. But for an elder to be watching, she said, you don't know the violence I've seen. You don't know what I've went through. You all don't know. But at her age, to be that old and say, and in that moment say, this is what I'm talking about. I've not seen it this way. I was like, see, then I knew there was so much potential for our family to be successful, even though she knew, okay, it ain't, it's not like if this wasn't the goal, but it also was not the bottom. It wasn't the worst. By leaps and bounds, it wasn't the worst. So for me, I'm looking at all of this and just us being together on Eid, because we were together on Eid, but we weren't together on Eid. We might have been in the same park, same masjid and those things, but it wasn't until Coach Nazir was like, we're not doing that. I can't, because then I had to think as a friend and not his wife. I had to think as a friend and go, I ain't tell him I was thinking as a friend because I didn't know how to say that back then, but I was thinking as a friend in my mind. I said, if this were me, which sounds crazy because I'm not a husband, but to my point, if this were me and I had kids here and kids here and they're my children, wouldn't I want their core memories to be that of family, even if it's not where I feel it could be? It's not at its full potential yet, but I'll not have my family busted up, separated, my children separated, and just kind of mingling. Yeah, so they can pat, hug, and then this. It wasn't a good environment to keep children in, so the ego had to be set aside. So I was seeing what he was trying to do, and then I thought to myself, can I aid in that? can I help in that? Because if it were me, I wouldn't want my children disbanded like this and scattered. Not to the degree of different continents or countries or cities even, or even sides of a different town. There was none of that. We live in close proximity. So why not have a maturity about myself and pull myself out of it at the same time and go, if it were me, I'd want my children to. So when he said, no, I'm not doing the, some brothers do it. They do that. It's their choice. But I knew that I was married to a man that was not going to have that. And if he did, it was going to be very brief, and it was brief. So we Eids and this split and this separate. Now we did have Eids where it was like, so like them, and then we just went to our neutral corners, the women. The kids are going to play with kids. They're going to play with kids. Okay, so the kids are hardly ever the issue. It's usually the adults. Now, if your kids are grown, that's another matter for another life. But I knew, because I came from a family that my parents never married, my grandparents were divorced, so it was this broken family twice thing that I grew up in. So my goal was never to create a broken family or break one up by my own actions. So I wasn't going to protest Eid and go, well, I don't want, and she better not. If I have something to say to somebody, I'll say it to them. I don't need to send it through Coach Nazir. I'll say it to them. But then you have to think, is there a reason? Is there a reason why I feel that way? And is it just something I've brought out of my own self that nobody else triggered in me? That, I had to make a decision whether I was going to be a team player, a family member for the long haul, or was I going to say, you know what, I don't feel good, I don't feel right, and is that really happening to me? So I had to really measure what was going on with me versus what was going on with other people, and was it going to hurt my children? Were my children going to be affected by me saying, you know what? Well, I don't feel good. I feel judged. I feel like I'm being exposed. It's Eid. I was always at Eid and went to the Eid, and that was not going to change because Coach Nyla was in polygyny. So I wasn't going to rob my children of Eid. And some women do that. I ain't going. She going to be there. I ain't going. It's Eid. Let them be there. They should be at Eid. And I didn't want to scar my children by creating these barriers and this really toxic environment where I wasn't supportive of them being with their siblings and enjoying their siblings whenever they wanted to, whether it's Eid, whether it's in their day-to-day life. I knew there was one chance to do this the right way. So if I got to move over and go, look, come on, y'all, hug each other and see each other and give each other gifts and let's go to the park and whatever, that's something that needed to happen. It had to happen because I'm not having grow up like I did, separated from their siblings. So Coach Nazir was putting different boundaries into place and adding traditions and making adjustments and fighting for his family. So I saw that fight and I was like, mind you, I'm like, I might not have liked how this all started, but in his corner, I found myself there going, just keep going. So when he decided I ain't split my family up and so many other things like that, then I knew then. I said, this is a space where I feel like I'm going to be all right. Because he's not trying to break the family apart. He's actually trying to mend it, push it together, create a family that was healthy for the long term. I know that was a long explanation, but it was a number of things. I was watching you. I was like, too.
Unsurveyed for sure.
Oh yes, he was, because I think a sister had described it. She's like, you always wait for the other shoe to drop, and I'm like, if there ain't no shoes, nothing's
Meaning
gonna drop. Meaning, he might be looking good right now, but something's gonna happen. He's gonna fail. It's life. Something is going to happen. It is life. Because what women do sometimes, especially in the early stages, we'll go, I don't like it. I want it perfect because I don't like it, and you better get to work. That's what I want. You're not gonna get perfection. You want perfection when it comes over to polygyny, but in monogamy, there's an expectation. Oh, you know what, my husband, he tries. But then we get to polygyny. It better be perfect. I don't like, and then you have a laundry list of things that you don't like. A man will have time for concerns, like genuine concerns, but when it starts turning into complaints, then how is somebody supposed to keep their ears tuned into constant barrage of belittlement, complaints, I don't like, demands, commands, rules, and all of this stuff, and he's supposed to go, okay, I'll get right on that. No, nobody wants to hear that. But it's only when polygyny shows up that we want it absolutely perfectly like we want it to be. Instead of looking inside going, what do I need to make adjustments on? What do I need to learn? What do I need to change about myself to be more understanding? Somebody asked me the dua. What dua did I make? Knowledge of the subject of polygyny and understanding of it. My husband, co-wife, kids, like I kept making that dua constantly, because I knew I was deficient in that way, in those areas.
So I've heard women be told this advice, and I'm sure some of the people watching can relate. One thing is that they're told, okay, your husband married somebody else, so that just means you're not enough. You know what I'm saying? He's chasing his lusts. You're not enough. What were some of these things, some of these ideas that you may have held initially, whether it's some of those or people said it or what have you, or were you just like, oh, it's all good?
Oh, no. I can, what, y'all, I can almost laugh at that. It's all good, because no, I never had the it's all good thing until I understood more and expanded my understanding more, and not just of Coach Nazir, but of everyone, and being able to listen to a perspective that wasn't my own, because that's where I got hemmed up in. I don't know. I don't like this, I don't like that. And the whole story about how everything happened is not here, nor will it ever be. That's just something that I know for me is very intimate. It's very personal. And what would somebody do with the information anyway? What do they need it? So how did some women want to know exactly where I am? How did I find out? What did you do? Was it on the phone? Was it there? Was it in this room? Was it in that room? Was he at her house when he told you? No, it's not not your business. It's just not. And it's not necessary to know that part. But just knowing I didn't know is the information, because we still have a life when the cameras aren't rolling. So getting back to what women tell themselves and how they move, I had to understand something. It's these things happening to me. So whatever I think is going on, is it going on? Or is it a delusion that I created based off my assumptions, which were making me feel horrible? A lot of what I went through, not all of it, but a lot of it was because of assumption and not having the proper tools to ask the right questions at the appropriate times. And a big one was not having an expectation that my husband would have an answer. He had an answer to everything because he's new to this. He's still figuring things out. Schedule, housing things as far as making sure that it wasn't so difficult for him to access both households. So for our family, for example, what does that mean? Some brothers, some men have to have a wife in one country or continent and one in another. Okay. That for us would have not worked. That's not to say it doesn't work for other families. We're just saying where we're at now, and we've been there a long time, it would not work for our family to be so far apart. Have we been far apart before because we're world traveling? Yeah. Was that easy? No, it was not easy because a man, as the protector, y'all, as the protector, even if he can't do it right now, even if it's in his heart to do one day, he wants to be in a position where he can get to his family. He wants to be there. So when women go, well, I'm in one country and she's in another, ask yourself something. Do you really think that's your husband's genuine desire to have to fly a number of hours over the sea, be in the air for a long time to get to his wife, who might be in labor, and all the things to deal with security and TSA and bags and money and do all of this stuff to get to his loved ones? That might be something he has to do right now, or a sacrifice he has to make. Now, we don't see the sacrifices behind the scenes. I had to learn that about myself. I don't see the sacrifices behind the scenes. And I need to understand that. I don't need to see all the sacrifices. I just need to see the ones that might affect me and our house, our individual household, our family at large. I might need to see that, but the great details, no. So I had to understand that everything, every text, every phone call, every time I would see Coach Nazir had to be within an appropriate time because he's dealing with things behind the scenes. And it wasn't until I understood the magnitude, yes, the magnitude of that, what that must have meant for him as the person that has all the information. Coach Nyla doesn't have all the information. I don't have all the information. And we don't want all the information. But that doesn't mean that we should create distraction and disruption for the one that does. So it was easier, I found personally, for me not to create distraction, not to call on him when I really didn't need to, and disrupt something or a responsibility that he had on the other side, meaning on the other part, in the other part of the family, and ask questions like, is it a good time to talk? Are you free now? Will you be free? So that I could get in his schedule in a way that I always have. A yes, because he had to work, he had to create, he had to travel. I still had to find time. We had to find time to spend time together. Now, being in polygyny, that did not stop. So I still had to find that time. Women think we sharing our husbands with another wife. Another wife. It's all about him being married to us and us sharing his time. No, we're not the only ones sharing time with him. He's not the only one lending time and being with us. He has children, business. I learned with Coach Nazir for many years. I learned he's got brothers he needs to sit down and meet with. He has children. He has parents, siblings, friends outside of the family. And I was like, oh, look, now, wow. I said, I'm sharing him with a lot of people, with a whole lot of people. Because guess what, Fatimah? His life don't revolve around your life. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to understand now. I understand always, because remember, when you get married, you're supposed to be one person and have two heads. And that's not how that works. I understood through polygyny that my husband was not mine. He was his own person. He always was. And I was always my own person. We were two people that were individuals that got married that were still and are still individuals. And there's such beauty in that. There's such freedom in that. And I wasn't always here, y'all, was not. And I had to learn. My grandma told me something. She said, "You came here by yourself. You didn't come here with him. You won't leave with him." And it was so powerful because this is not high school. We're adults. And we should act like it. Do we want to, have I like been feeling like I was in this chaotic tantrum mode? I'm like, this is and then I said, he has a responsibility and I need to let him, and not mean give permission to him, but let myself move on up out the way and not allow my feelings to run my actions. And it feels good to just sit there and go, he has responsibilities, I do too. It's just so important to embrace and watch a good man work. I've heard some horror stories, we both have, but I've heard some horror stories. So to just be understanding that our good men sometimes choose to practice polygyny, but does that stop them from being good men? We have to examine that.
And you asked, so next situation.
That
in and of itself can
yes.
be cause for them to no longer be good men.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's definitely I mean, it's it's heartwarming to hear because you make it sound better than I am. So that's always appreciated. Now, when you go into polygyny, right? Some of the challenges that you're going to face, men are going to absolutely face, is there's this internal struggle. Then, of course, there's the external struggle. The external struggle is just the responsibilities that come along with it. Mm-hmm. That's the being fair, that's being just, that's being equitable when it comes to time and money. So understanding that difference is is pretty important. There was a person, for example, that I had mentioned. She's an initial wife. She's like, look, the household is like this, it's look like this. He wants to marry somebody else, and that's taken from the household, and da 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 da. She didn't understand something. The household is not just her. It's a household. Okay? Men are supposed to be just and equal and equitable to his wives. So that's the wife, the food, shelter, clothing, the basics and stuff like that, right? And then this other wife. The household stuff, she was including herself in with the kids, with the extra laundry, with the extra, all of those things as though that was her. And some of the challenges come in which is normal, is that there's this possessiveness, mainly by the women. So it's mine. My resource and my stuff, my utility, that's my resource right there. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else that comes, there's a problem, I'm blocking it out because now this is going to crumble and crush and cut off my resource, kind of my goose that laid the golden egg, regardless of how the situation, the current situation is in marriage. So understanding that, first of all, is a difference. Just like understanding that children, you don't have the same schedule with polygyny with your children. If you have children with your initial wife, which you probably do, and none with your incoming wife, your second wife, for example, that does not mean she gets less time. The children can come with you. If you're leading, you're the man, you make that happen. You don't like, oh, I need to spend more time over here at this house because the children are there. It's another little trick. That's not part of the deal. That's leading stronger how you're supposed to lead, because the requirements there are for the wives, the men treating their wives in a certain fashion. That's extremely important to understand. But you need to know that with your leadership and who you are. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, you'll fall into the array as well. Like, okay, well, I have this and just all kind of games that happen that can be challenging, because now there's an emotional game that's going on. The internal game says, okay, well, I don't want to hurt the person that I'm here to protect and provide for, and I'm doing all this stuff for, but at the same time, she can be hurt. But I'm the one that's providing all this comfort. But at the same time, okay, do I continue to sacrifice myself and expanding or building legacy and whatever it is that I want to build and getting married again? I just crush myself in that, build resentment in that place, because she's caring only about herself, thinking I'm only caring about myself and lustful desires, right? That's the first thing put out there. It's okay to have lustful desires and marry that initial wife. Because, get married, do it the right way, take care of her. Right? But these desires are supposed to just dissipate and go away for whatever reason. That's not how you design, bro. And if you're a Muslim, you should already know that at the end of that same ayah that talks about polygyny, that also talks about something for your lustful desires. We forget that part just because for the last couple of centuries, or for the last 1 century, 100 years now, we haven't been living under an Islamic state or anything like that, where certain methods of war and stuff like that are going on. But prior to, you had concubines. You had to marry a concubine. All right. But just let you know about sexual desires, Islam deals and addresses that also. So that's another conversation, but it's something that needs to be in the conversation when the accusation is just, it's lustful desires. We know what happens in marriage. Yes, there should be some chemistry. That should be a person you intimate with. Yep, no doubt, no question. Nobody's denying that. I absolutely am against somebody marrying simply for altruistic reasons. Oh, this person is needy, so I'm going to go ahead and marry her. Oh, just one of the benefits, I'll get to, do this and that with her. That's not a good reason to go ahead and marry her, just to, in my opinion. You can marry for whatever you want to as long as you're fulfilling the conditions. All right. But to marry for altruistic reasons, as though that's you just charity and your stuff is on table for charity, is not necessarily the best foundation to build on, in my opinion and experience. So just saying on that piece. So the possessiveness, the jealousies, these types of things, normal, but now you have to navigate that. And navigating that in polygyny is way different than monogamy. Monogamy, somebody can say something or see something, and all of a sudden you get a side eye or a look because your wife knows what you like and she knows what attractiveness looks like, and you do too. And now all of a sudden there's jealousy or something in there, right? Natural, normal part of life. But the maturity and the type of woman you marry, you need to kind of figure that out too. And many won't be able to figure it out until the polygyny discussion is even brought up, seeing if it can even be had properly. All right, if it's even a subject being able to approach. All right, because there are women when men don't know it until later that they sleeping with the enemy, and many women do that as well. But this is what I mean by sleeping with the enemy. There are women that are like, you know what? Don't practice polygyny. That means you're going to have to take care of somebody, be responsible for it, and everything else. I'd rather you just go ahead and have a girlfriend on the side, visit her once a week or once a month or something like that. That means she does not care for your soul. All right, polygyny requires you step up, requires you do it honorably, requires that marriage is part of this picture. Not that it's some jump down, some mistress, some girlfriend, some whatever on the side. That's not polygyny. You know what I'm saying? That's not how this works. Polygyny is a form of marriage. And many would rather you just put your soul in jeopardy, if you will. They don't mind the sin. It's like, okay, whatever. As long as I have this and you don't know that until that situation comes up, discussed, real or otherwise, which is extremely important. So as one of the foundations to have somebody that does have a strong spiritual connection, that cares more and recognizes that there's somebody she has to answer to. All right, that we all have to answer to. That put us here. And we also understand that all of our relationships are going to end tragically. We're all going to be gone. Regardless of what AI can do and make you look like you can come back and sound like you and move like you and all that kind of stuff. And your soul is already gone. Because I done seen Tupac looking just like how he looked over 20-some years ago a lot over these last few weeks. But it's not him.
And Mr. Rogers.
So regardless of these things, understanding and keeping priorities in order matters. So anyway.
You spoke about jump downs and concubines and mistresses and stuff.
Right.
Coach Nyla said, one thing about polygyny that makes the difference is that people don't use the word commitment. Okay. There is a commitment in polygyny because it's a marriage. It's another form of marriage. But we don't want to use the word commitment or commit. That means there's a contract that is to be honored. It's to be honored. Who remembers the astronaut that drove cross country with a diaper on to confront the mistress? This was years ago. She wore a diaper. She was so jealous, so mad. She humiliated herself World diaper to drive across the country. the 48 hours, another 48, all those shows are full of these stories of love triangles where people unalive someone because of their jealousy. Because of their jealousy. And I said, now some people are just mentally ill and, you know, they're going to wear a diaper and they're going to wear all types of stuff. But I thought about that. And I said, if there was a solution to a man being married to more than one woman, how much of this unaliving that's going on would reduce in his violence? But because get mad, honey, get mad if you want to. Make me know, never mind. I'm going to still say what I got to say. If there was a solution, and there is a solution to a man wanting to have more than one wife and a household and responsibilities, what would that be? So it's absolutely acceptable for someone to say, I'm a cat. And the teacher must put a litter box in the bathroom so that this child that says they and proclaim that they are a cat, you're violating my rights if you don't put a litter box in it. We'll accept all that madness. But when it comes over here to getting a solution to reduce some of these crimes of passion, nope, won't have that. But we're going to put this litter box in this bathroom so this child that thinks they're a cat, and I'll lose my job if I don't call them a cat, and their parents will get mad at me. We'll do all of that. But ain't no way we're going to make marriage honorable by using polygyny as a solution for another, a different form of marriage. We will not stand for that. It is a commitment. It is a marriage that has a contract. It has those things. But are we willing to have the conversation about how to, well, they in a love triangle and they're into this and they're into that, and the man has more than one woman in his life. It's acceptable when we get on The Bachelor. It's acceptable when you have an athlete that's gone, or a band, a rock band, a R&B group, whatever the case may be, when those men, Navy, you're in the Navy, gone for 9 months at a time. And then the man cheats on the wife. Now, polygyny is not cheating, but that's absolutely the man gone 9 months. I mean, you could understand he would cheat. He's an athlete. Everybody go, oh, it's The Bachelor. He can give 20 women roses, or 11 or whatever it is, and take them all out on dates and get on the yacht with them and give each one oh, I didn't get a rose tonight. He didn't give me a rose. I got one. 5 women will be sitting there with a rose on The Bachelor, and one won't get it, and we'll all be at home crying. Oh my God, I can't believe he didn't give Jessica a rose. But he gave the other 6 women a rose, and everybody's at home doing this. Oh, he's so romantic. But then when we get to polygyny, where there's an actual contract and commitment to take on the responsibilities honorably and build legacy that way, and have a huge family that way, if that's what you want to do. No, can't do that. But we're going to watch The Bachelor because it come on at 8. We're going to do all of that. You want to have a Bachelor viewing party? There's viewing parties for this stuff. And then when the men are athletes and they're entertainers or anything like that, the society will make excuses for them and say, well, she knew what it was.
Of course.
I mean, they go with the territory.
Your mom's the Cannon got, or Elon Musk, he got 10, 11 kids now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he in the streets for real.
All the women on the same compound, same land.
Yeah.
So his kids can be close.
So his kids can be close. But if They'll go, well, shoot, if I was married to Elon Musk, he'd have as many wives as he wants because it must be the money.
Deion Sanders.
It must be the money. That's a training, that whole song. Deion Sanders must be the money. I'm telling you what it is. He's still saying it. So it's like, but when we want to make it, and when it is something honorable, that actually holds a man accountable for his responsibility, no, we can't have none of that. We can't have that structure. We can't have you build legacy in a healthy way.
No, I mean, we know that the biggest threat outside of Islam, of course, because Islam is the only thing that grounds people in spirituality that actually is revolutionary in and of itself, just by its own calendar, its own statement. But it's not that kind of conversation. But Islam is clearly about the gender roles. It's about family. So that is a challenge and it's a threat. But when you attack the family, you attack everything else. Now, we know and been told that Shaitan's biggest and most cherished deed is to break up a family. Then what about stopping families from coming together? Is that not also destructive? Right? And one of the ways to do that is to weaken the man. Having a gynocentric society, and weaken him by the family, the resources, all types of things. And monogamy simply benefits men. It makes you responsible for one woman or whatever legal children are there, and outside of that part really doesn't matter. You do whatever you want. So in the States, for example, if every man was straight and of age, and every woman was straight and of age, and they just simply matched by male and female, still be over 6 million women unmarried.
Listen at that.
Because there's that many more women than men. But what's the solution to that? The solution to that is to make men responsible for their pleasures. If they want more, which most men do, you strive to be exceptional. Strive to be the man that attracts women. You become that type of man versus begging and pleading and being weak and talking all this other little nonsense and stuff. You raise above the mediocre masses is what it is.
Yeah.
That's in and of itself attractive. When you think of groupies, nobody's thinking about a bunch of men chasing a woman. That's not what groupies are. That's not how they operate. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's a whole different part of the conversation. But I just wanted to, at least point that part out, because the fact of the matter is polygyny requires men who are righteous, men who are healthy, men who want to actually build legacy to become more than twice the man. Just they have a girlfriend, mistress, all that kind of stuff all the time. They have that with the permission of wives many times. And women similarly cheat. And many say even at a different and higher level than men do. That's neither here nor there. We're simply pro morals. Your monogamy, great. All right, do it well, do it high morals. We speak on polygyny because monogamy has already failed in society. It is. Most of marriages fail to begin with. All right. So if most of them fail, and there's nobody talking about another form of marriage called polygyny as an ancient solution to a modern day problem, and we had to go through several years of struggles and challenges and stuff with leadership and all kinds of things from my side as well as my wife's side, then we need to be speaking and educating about that, getting more bought up in that process. So all of that matters. And with that, polygyny is a potential solution, a massive solution, because that's what strong men desire, attracted by, and help motivate. And if that's the case, and you get that covered, if you get all these blessings for feeding your wife and raising up righteous children and so on, then double that, do more than that. You know what I'm saying? I encourage every single man to strive to practice polygyny. All right. Why? For what it'll make of you. Even if you can't or you don't or whatever, strive to for what it will make of you as a man. All right. Because we have to grow and build and earn and stuff like that, where women have to preserve themselves, or good women are smart enough to preserve themselves. Wise women that are high quality and highly desired preserve themselves. Strong men who are highly desired, these are ones who built and grown and take care of what they need to do to be seen as that and increase in the status. And that part is the external part, where the interior part is making sure they have that solid foundation with their creator so that their values are there. Otherwise, you end up people like Elon Musk. Nobody's talking about this man because of his values, or Trump and their values, or these the number one donor to APAC, the Zionist that runs OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying? Or almost Pornhub. These Zionists, these people in there, what they do. You know what I'm saying? All kind of the stuff from this life, and you can have all of that. You have it all. You can have all the stuff in this life. But the akhirah is actually where it matters. So having this internal foundation and be able to build and separate yourself from mediocre masses is extremely important. That's why I encourage men, one, you have to be masculine and be exceptional. That's part of the framework that we talk about for men. You know, being fearless, which is crucial, being reliable, ambitious, masculine, and exceptional. So this is not for that tonight. Matter of fact, if you are a man, you're interested in learning more about frame, I am doing a live webinar on Tuesday, inshallah, at 12 o'clock Eastern. So if you want to join that, it's free. It's a masterclass. Tuesday, go to polygamywebinar.com. Matter of fact, I put it on the screen over here on YouTube, but you go to polygamywebinar.com. You can register. We're going to go pretty deep dive. They last a little over an hour or whatnot on that framework and what it takes. But at the same time, also how to properly vet quality women for marriage, period. Because that's 90% of your success or failure is going to be the woman that you choose. And if you have no idea what you're doing, that's going to be extremely destructive. Just saying. All right, so we have a few more minutes to go, inshallah. So if you want to, there's some questions that are there. You can put them on the screen. If you want to ask a question, you got to be on YouTube. So go to YouTube. We'll be live at our channel's Outstanding Personal Relationships. You can read it out and then see what's up, inshallah.
Okay.
But we see you. Matter of fact, we see you from Alabama.
Germany's
IG,
up there.
Germany for sure. Greece, Mr. Alejandros.
One of the things I wanted to say before I looked at this comment, well, it's up there, y'all. You should be able to see it. But one of the things I wanted to add really quickly to what Coach Nazir said, if you're if you're a man, you know, do your best to strive toward it for what it, polygyny, for what it will make of you. Now, with that being said, when our husbands are Muslim and we put this rule, no, you can't practice polygyny. A Muslim man should not take that off the table for him to do if he wants to do it, if he wants to marry again. So our neighbor asked me, well, why now? Why would he want to do this now? I said, he's 30 some years old. When would you have liked him to practice polygyny? She couldn't answer because you don't even get to say that, and I'm supposed to look at you and take you seriously. He's wrong. When is a good time for you? When do you think would be a good time for him as a man that's in his over 30 now? When would that be? She was like, well, I don't know. You don't say you don't know. Neither do I, because I don't get to make the decision for him. So I don't have to agree with everything. But what I'm not going to do is tell somebody, I know exactly when your number is up and when you're going to pass on. And this is when I think you should do this. Because are we looking for wifehood? Or are we looking for motherhood when we get married? As in, are we trying to raise our husbands? By telling them, this is how you should move. This is when you need to be home. This is what you need to eat. This is when you need to go to bed. It's only when we get here to polygyny, then here come all this stuff. Here comes all these things, all these rules and all these boundaries. And I don't like this. You can't do that. It's all of that. But before polygyny, he's like, oh, he went to, and he has to go to work and he's doing the things, and he told me all the things he has to do and the responsibility that he has. And now we're in there saying what he can and cannot do as a grown adult. I mean, I can't even imagine how that must feel as a grown man. And we'll go, well, I know how it feels when he's telling me to do stuff and not to. No, you don't, because you're not a grown man. If you were a grown man, he wouldn't be married to you if he's heterosexual. So when we do that, we just end up sounding really silly. We make it a competition between ourselves and our husband, and we're trying to mother versus saying, listen, let's sit down, let's have a conversation about it, and then maybe we both can get some clarity. He's going to get some clarity too, if you want to sit down and have the conversation about polygyny. But half the time we don't want to have it because we might put an idea in their head that, guess what, y'all, it's already up there. It's probably been up there before he ever got married. That's the part. So it's not personal. It's really not personal. Okay. I do notice that there is a rise of polygyny nowadays as opposed to back then, maybe because there wasn't enough resources or tools back then, or not talked about open enough like it is now.
I don't think that's true.
People are talking about polygyny more, but this part
this
here,
is just social media making it more prevalent.
It's been there.
It was actually practiced a whole lot more than it is today. And even today, even though it's widely practiced, especially, I mean, of course, in the Muslim world in general, but in the West, it's also widely practiced. But most are quiet about it.
Yeah.
Which is okay. You know what I'm saying? You don't want people on your business. And
we get that.
All that kind of stuff. So it's definitely widely practiced. I'll give you an example. I've heard stories. I haven't confirmed these things yet because I was a child last time I heard them, because people are people. They get real shady. So I heard that my grandfather had 3 wives. After he passed, this is when I heard this. I heard he died down in Mississippi with one of his wives. That's where he went to die.
I thought you was going to say down in the Delta.
But so he was down. So that's what I was told. And these were the complaints. This is like one of my cousins was telling me this and stuff like that. And with the advent of DNA technology, I got a notification that somebody like my uncle was here. I think I know all of my uncles.
I don't think you do.
And I'm like, okay, I know all my uncles. Who this? This is not my Puerto Rican side. Who this? I know who my uncles are on my other side. I have 2 other uncles on my Black American side. But this wasn't one of them. And he's supposed to be my uncle, which maybe he could be from my great uncle, one of his children or something like that. He never responded to me reaching out to him on Facebook or also through like Ancestry, trying to see what's up, bro. Like, who you related to? Y'all in Shot, y'all in the South part, you over on the West Side, you in Maywood. They in the same area as my uncle and my grandparents, stuff like that. My father's born in Shot, so I don't know. I would like to know, especially if I'm related to these people by blood. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, because of this type of taboo feeling and thoughts and stuff like that, where people are thinking that polygyny hasn't been around. It's been around for a long time. It hasn't stopped. Now it's being more prevalent that you're seeing stuff online. Just like every bad behavior and different things now is being online. So that kind of is what it is, unfortunately. But now it's been around for a minute. Men haven't changed in that aspect, regardless of the laws, regardless of the time. The only thing that has changed is good leadership to bad. And a lot of that is our fault in this whole new age feminazis that are out.
I remember your aunt, Coach Nyla, someone's uncle. I remember her talking to me specifically. She was triggered. It's her dad's youngest sister. And she was talking about that whole thing with your grandpa. And then she goes, I was like, oh, it is real. Because that's what, it's rumblings. Yeah, hold up. Not him finding out stuff on the live. She had said to me, she said, now I got to, how did she put it? She said, now it's a couple expletives. But she said, now we figuring out we got to share land with folks and da-da-da. Like, I was like, jump scare. I was like, oh my God. Because somebody, this specific aunt, Coach Nyla aunt, ain't no joke, but I knew by the way she said it and the tone that she said it in. This was years ago, y'all. I said, oh, this ain't no joke. It's for real. The other family down south. Because the way she said that, like sharing land and what is it called when somebody passes away?
Inheritance.
Inheritance. I said, oh no, this ain't some rumor, because she was too. You could kind of hear this pain and this anger. I was like, what am I gonna say? I was like, it ain't for me to comment on that. I'm staying out of that. Little did I know, it's something in the men. And that's why people get so upset when we talk about 10 kids, you have 10 children and all of this. I'm like, y'all, there's not enough background. Do you understand that a man that comes from large numbers, Coach Nazir has it on his father's side and his mother's side, I mean, very large numbers of siblings, aunts, and uncles. I've never seen like anything like that on both sides of the family. I've never seen anything like the numbers that they have on both sides. I've been to the reunions, and I said, why would it stop here? Where you go, yeah, I'll take 2 kids. Because I said there is a culture within the family that they embrace large numbers of children. So it would be, to me, I had to learn, why would he be anything else than a man that would want to build legacy through having 2 wives and this many children? That's a lot of kids, y'all. That's a lot. And the responsibility is heavy. So it's not out of the sky and just fell on him one day. Oh, I want to have a large family. No. Typically, when men come from large families, they really enjoy the feeling of having a lot of children. And if it has to come through more than one wife, then that's what it has to come through.
Well, that wasn't.
It's not here to just
plan.
Of course, it wasn't the initial plan, but it wasn't far removed from you. Where you like, oh, I could never have that many kids. Of course. No, it was like, I got 8 billion aunts and uncles over here, and I got 8 billion aunts and uncles over here. It wasn't scary. You weren't intimidated by a lot of kids, because that's what you grew up around on either side. So then I learned a lot about the men in Coach Nazir's family, that it's like a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts, and then they got a lot of kids, and then they have a lot of kids. It was that, it's powerful. It's powerful to see what your great grandpa created. What was it, 14 of them? Something like that. 2 sets 13. Of twins. 2 sets. Well, one
side had 13, one side had 16.
See what I'm saying?
For my great grandparents, and then my grandparents had 6, and then 7. My mother had 6, father had 5.
See what I mean? And then your grandmother on this Puerto Rican side, she had 6.
Yeah, grandmother had 7.
No, the grandmother had 7. So people go, oh my God. In that family, 10, okay, about average. But no, we got larger numbers than that. So it made sense. It still does.
We're going to wrap up, though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
At least you honest.
Get to make sure this audio is straight. So, all right. So there's a few more questions, though. Want to scroll up to see?
To see. Out of the 2 of us, he can see better than I can. Reese in the house. Okay. Do you believe that after he married again, he felt more complete as a man, which probably motivated him to more towards his team? Yes. Yeah, I could say yes to that. However, Coach Nazir said he's open to a 3rd wife. No,
I'm open to 4. I'm not going to close the door. Here's the question. Coach Fatimah said, as a man, you should never come in capitulating, saying that you would not be open to marrying into polygyny. We absolutely agree. First of all, if you've never been married before, you don't know what it requires anyway. So don't come in with the lower hand, like giving up some of your rights and giving up anything to begin with. All right, that shows weakness. Especially, our sons, they're already coming from an outstanding person. I mean, I want all of my sons to have 4 wives, have a whole bunch of children. All right. So anyway, but my question to that man that would agree to say, okay, I'm only going to marry you and blah, blah, even though you can't. Women can't prohibit it anyway in Islam. Right. They can have an out to annul or request quick divorce or something like that in the contract, which is fine. If that's what they want to do. And I'm letting the men know don't. Why? And the question I'm asking is, which of the blessings of your Lord will you deny? That's the question I have. Is that going to be the blessing? That's going to be the one? All right. So, and you don't know who you're going to be. I think it was Muhammad Ali who said that, look, if you the same person at 50, you think you're the same as you were when you were 20 years old, you just lost 30 years of your life. You wasted a whole lot. Not going to be the same. You continue to grow and evolve prayerfully with intention versus just passing the time. So hopefully that helps.
I think this is for Coach Nazir. Let's see what he say. Okay. Thoughts on men in polygyny who say my way or the skyway, or the door is always open to keep his wives not cross any line.
Thoughts on men in polygyny who say my way or the skyway or the highway, where I'm from at least. Mm-hmm. Or the door is always open to keep his wives from crossing any lines. All right. So let's start with the intention part. Making threats like that really is a sign of weakness. Making a threat. You don't do this, I'm gonna get another one. I'm gonna get a second one. Even joking like that is a sign of weakness in a man. It's not some masculine thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, as to the first part, is my way or the skyway or the highway, or the door is always open. Well, isn't it? If I can marry 4, the door is open. Like I said, I'm open. I'm not looking for another wife, stuff like that. I'm working on getting my children married and setting things up for future generations. But that doesn't mean I'm closing the door on the 3rd or 4th. But again, I'm not looking. And if I was looking, it'd be a lot different where I am right now in life than it was when I was in my mid-30s, than it was when I was 19 when I first got married. Okay? So, but to use it as a threat, that's immature. Now, my way or the skyway, my way or the highway, that's a matter of leadership. Okay? So that can be appropriate in sometimes, and it can be inappropriate when it's used as a threat of being immature. As an example, this is my house, this is my family, right? I practice polygyny. Now, I am the leader. I'm the man with a family. I'm the CEO of this corporation, if you will, right? But that doesn't mean I don't sit and talk to my board of directors, see what's going on, get counsel and stuff like that, because they have shares. They have some ownership and some shares in the company as well, right? So, and they all stakeholders. So I want to hear from them, but ultimately the leadership comes to me and my shoulders. I have to make that decision. The challenge was early in polygyny. I knew this outside of the house when we were doing business and take care of stuff like that. But inside the house, I was like, okay, well, the rules say kind of this. You don't have to do that. It was too lackadaisical. And that's my fault. So once I was like, no, we're not doing this again with Eve, then, I had to be the bad guy or be rough and all this kind of stuff and be like, no, this is the way it's going to be. This division, I see it. We're not going to move like this anymore. I don't like it. I don't like how it feels. I don't like this little clickiness that women do in the caddy games and other people getting involved. Nope. That ends today. We're stopping that. Once I did that, then stuff got better. You know what I'm saying? But I had to become better. So yeah, so if that's established your leadership, again, if you're doing it to to have fear and have them fear you and all that kind of, that's just immature. But my wives know who runs the family. You know what I'm saying? But I don't run it with some iron fist, some tyrant where it's, get this done, ho, and all this. That's not going to get. That's not good leadership. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what that means. So that's why I went to the last part first. They're doing it too. So she cooperating, get in line. I'll get another one. I'll keep my door open. That's weird. Open. You know what I'm saying? That's weird. So don't be a weirdo with that type of stuff. It ain't masculine. It's not something that's exceptional. All of the relationships that we're involved in, all of them are voluntary. Anybody can leave at any time for anything, any reason or no reason at all. We're humans. Yeah. Some people do that. You've heard stories probably somebody, grandfather, uncle, went to the store and never came back, went to go get some cigarettes and ain't seen them since. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody just dropped the kids off and dipped. You know what I'm saying? So that is what it is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, hopefully that answered the question. Not to wave a hand at you, but just, again, prayerfully that answered the question.
Mid-30s, you looking young, bro.
Mid-30s looking young, bro.
There it is.
I try. But these grades let everybody know, yeah.
And we said we
gotta take care of yourself.
We said we was married 30 years. So that.
Yeah, we married 30 years.
There it is. So? Nothing. I'm getting myself together. Okay. Congrats. Okay.
Welcome, Quanisha.
Welcome. I hope we didn't
Yeah, so she became a member. So congrats. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the family. Matter of fact, email us, support@outstandingpersonalrelationship.com. We have something special for our members. See, YouTube does not allow us to email members and stuff like that become YouTube members, but we have some more information that's definitely beneficial for our YouTube members, but they got to reach out and hit us up because we can't hit you up.
We can't hit you up. I think that's it.
But support@outstandingpersonalrelationship.com. So that's the last question. Okay.
Last question from what I can see. Okay, in the comment. Let's see.
Where is Coach Nyla? Right, you might be asking that and wondering about that. She's taking care of some business and stuff like that. So she's working on some webinars, some information stuff. So she asked us to go ahead and man the ship without her tonight or today or this morning or wherever you're at in the world.
Masterclass info.
Yeah. So,
but
she sends her salams. But masterclass info, right at the bottom of the screen. Polygamywebinar.com to join my free masterclass coming up this Tuesday live. So do that. Go there. Go ahead and register. You get the information, everything sent to you, inshallah. All right, we'll have no other questions, and that's excellent because it's time for me to eat. Food smelling good. I appreciate y'all. Hope I didn't talk too much. And if you don't have the book, one of the best resources you can get, book next to you.
Yeah.
All right. We have ours. You go to Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored to get your copy. I'm trying not to get your copy. You know, it's going to show us our eyeballs, the camera going to adjust to us versus the book. So, yeah. Anyway. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. We out. Inshallah ta'ala. You want to reach out. If you don't know if you're ready yet for polygamy, you haven't taken a polygamy quiz, go to polygamyquiz.com. You have a free assessment. It lets you know kind of where you stand, and then go from there. If you want to discuss it, reach out. Talk to you in a minute, inshallah. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace.